Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer and delighted to have your company here on YouTube. Alan Ruff is with me, Charlie Adam, and the consummate professional, Tam McManus is here with us, which is amazing, Ruffy, because some people call off if they've got toothache, but Tam's decided he's going to he's going to weather the storm.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Obviously, he doesn't get to a dentist by the weekend. He'll have that big gum boil, so we'll see it Monday.
Yeah, a problem for me.
It is an absolute nightmare. I think, Charlie, if there's no dentist that can solve the problem, you've just got to get the wire on the tooth.
I'm not sure you're asking the right person about dentist, Peter.
No,
with my teeth, but hey, good luck, mate. If you find it, good luck.
You've got to do that, Ruffy, haven't you? The door and the wee bit of string.
Yeah, just sting me down with the pliers.
Mrs. McManus will just put the door through and just.
I know Mrs. McManus, and she would do that for free, by the way, I'm telling you right now. Anyway. Listen, great to have your company. Lots of football to talk about, European football, nightmare for Scottish clubs, and of course I'll look ahead to the weekend's Scottish Premiership and English Premier League fixtures as well. Thanks to countless people who have been downloading the PLZ Soccer app and posting messages for us as well. Bryso says, embarrassing to hear some section of the Celtic fans booing young Frimpong last night. Bryso is a Celtic fan himself. He says the boy was a bargain buy and gave us all for us and the club. He's bettered himself. Bryso, I think you make a great point, and I think we'll discuss that a little later on. You know, fans' reaction to players going back. And also Dave Balfour says, hi Peter, Ruff, Tam and Charlie. Just downloaded the app and thought I'd say, whilst watching today's show, I still think Ruffy looks more tan than Tam. All the best from Dave Balfour. And the reason for that is, I don't know if you're aware of it, Tam in the sunbed. You were aware of it. Yeah, you were there, weren't you? Yep. So that's
nice column.
It's just settled down. Actually, it's looking the business. Listen, before we get to the European games, news coming out. I think the SFA are going to be talking with Howard Webb, the obviously renowned English referee, about the adoption of VAR. The meeting is going to take place on October 8th, with all clubs being able to debate the full introduction of VAR to Scotland. A welcome bit of news?
Well, if it's listen, we can all sit here, it all comes down to finances. I've seen that the SFA are willing to pay for the start of the process and things like that, and listen, to come into the Premier League in Scotland would be a good thing. And yeah, we'll look forward to what comes at the meeting. The
Chief Executive Ian Maxwell had this to say with regards to the meeting and of course the implementation of it. VAR has been under discussion by the SFA since its introduction in 2018. Scottish football took the view that this would be preferable to see the technology overcome teething problems and become more cost effective. VAR is here to stay, and in a short period its implementation has advanced significantly while its setup and maintenance costs have reduced. We are now at the point where we need to discuss and ideally agree on its introduction into Scottish football. The SFA believes it's necessary for the evolution of our domestic game to provide additional support to our match officials and also to maximise their potential on the domestic, European and international stages. Well, I think it's a great thing, Ruffy. I think the referees are certainly embracing the thought of it coming in as well. And it will take away a lot of uncertainty, accusation, debate over games that should have gone one way and then the other.
Yeah, I think it's something we've got to do. We can't be left behind. Everybody else is taking it on board, so we should be doing everything we can. Maybe Mr. Anderson, is it Anderson his name is, the entrepreneur who gives money to the game? Yep. James, maybe he might think that might be something he would like to help along, somebody like that. But obviously the finance is the big thing. And how many clubs can get it.
The SFA are going to underwrite the training costs for the referees. That's the first thing. The SPFL will use the video conference to garner views from the clubs on whether they are pro it. I think the first question from every one of them is, how much is it costing us?
Exactly, and that's the thing. But also does that now mean the referees will look to go full time? Does that mean make it to improve refereeing, to bring them full time? Is that possible as well? Because in England, obviously, they are full time in the Premier League. So can we have a group of 8 referees, maybe 10 referees that can become full time and they can try and get to the top level? Like you say, we have referees that go and referee in European matches. So can we get them full time and make it a better league? I'm just, maybe that's a different option as well.
Nothing would please me more, Tam, than to see a referee, hear about a decision with VAR and then run to the side to have a look.
Yeah, listen, I think it's came on leaps and bounds since it first started. It was taking far too long to get decisions right. Now it's a minute, 2 minutes, it's sharp and the decision's made. So if it's like that in Scottish football, then I think everybody would welcome it. There's pros and cons. I think that it takes a bit of the glory and a bit of the passion out of the game, because supporters can't really celebrate until it's actually given. It might be a tight offside, ball's played through and he scores, and fans are maybe not wanting to celebrate too much, in case it comes back. So that's probably the downside, but the upside is obviously you're going to get most decisions right.
Okay, we're going to talk about European football, and of course there are certain sensitive subjects that I'm going to express to all and sundry, that to try and listen to the argument in context and see what you think about it and give us your thoughts on it. First of all, to the football on the pitch, Sparta Prague 1, Rangers 0. In the end, Steven Gerrard expressed, I think, disappointments about really the odd opportunity that they had in the game that they didn't take, and of course the slackness that allowed Sparta to get their winning goal.
Yeah, I thought at times Rangers were good between the two boxes. In the two boxes, I don't think they'd done enough. Obviously lost a goal from a set play, but never created enough on a regular basis that they have done away from home. Sakala had an opportunity first half, shot at the goalkeeper. They had 2 chances second half they could have scored, but I didn't see any interchange or link-up play that normally you'd expect with Rangers. So listen, they'll be disappointed to lose that game, and like you said, it's a big must-win the next one against Bromby. Yeah. So it's it was like I say, I thought Rangers at times done okay in the between the two penalty boxes, but never probably done enough to win the game.
Yeah, this is what Steven Gerrard had to say on the game before we get to the Kamara situation, with regards to trying to obviously, make an impression in this division of Europa League. To compete with the teams we're playing against, we have to spend big money. In the last 2 transfer windows, we haven't spent a penny. There has to be some realism there. We can't compete against these teams on their own patch without spending. There has to be some common sense when you're judging us from the outside. Well, as ever, Steven Gerrard, like many managers before him, Walter Smith found it out as well, Alex McLeish, sometimes you have to punch above your weight. Sometimes you have to get the most out of a squad and exceed when others maybe think you're not going to.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a fair point. A lot of these European clubs now are big spenders. I don't know about Sparta Prague, I don't know how big they are, but they have big backers behind them who pump money into them. We saw it with Celtic, with the Warsaw teams. They've all got big backers. The Germans have got big backers.
Rangers have got big backers.
I know, and so have Celtic got big backers. But so that excuse can only go so far.
Well, is he making an excuse?
I think he is. I've never heard them saying it before. This is a new one. Obviously they're not having the success as what they had last year. I think it was 8 wins or something. There's nothing out of 4 this time. So obviously these things are going to start ticking into his head. These are things I can use. That people have got to agree that we don't have the same money as other ones. But when you win games, you don't use that excuse. So it's either take it or leave it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Tam, Rangers and Celtic are Europa League teams. Whether they're very good Europa League teams is another matter.
Are they? I mean, both could end up in the Conference League at best. Rangers have got to go and take 6 points off Bromby for me to stay in the Europa League. And it's just, I was talking about it last night, from the early 2000s, Celtic and Rangers getting in the Champions League group stages, getting the UEFA Cup, Celtic 2003 was it, then Rangers obviously. How far we have fallen is incredible. We're now, I don't think Sparta Prague will have more money than Rangers. I don't think they're definitely not a bigger club, certainly not a bigger budget, so I don't think that washes with me. I thought Rangers were poor last night, and defensively they looked all over the place. Yeah.
Was there any kind of a give or accounting for the fact that he didn't have his preferred defence?
Yeah, I could give him a little bit of that. With Goldson not there, because he's one that's a leader and he'll hang in, but the other ones at the back, they were disjointed at times. Tavernier was, trying to play high at times. You got done for nearly the goal, the chances that they had. Bassey was over covered and he got one pass was straight through the middle. So yeah, I can give them that at the back, but when it comes to it, you'd still have expected Rangers to get at least a point at the game, and they never. And let's say, it just makes it a lot more harder for these next 2 games against Bromby.
Can you see them getting out of that group?
I could see them winning the next 3 games,
yeah,
and getting 9 points. But is it enough? I'm not sure, because you know, you're expecting Leon to go and run away with the group, but no, we'll see. But I'd expect Rangers to beat Bromby home and away. And, you know, on last night's show, I'd still expect them to beat Sparta Prague at home.
Totally disagree.
Yeah.
I don't think Rangers are playing well just now, and as Ruffy says, 2 games against Malmo, the first 2 games here, they've been a shadow of the team last season, so I wouldn't be putting any money on them to beat Bromby home and away, and they're going to have to.
Yeah, okay. That's the opinion on the park. One thing that I think we've got to be really careful with here, and this is one of those melting pots of the racism argument that's going on at the moment, Ruffy, because clearly Steven Gerrard was alerted to the fact. I don't think he knew during the game because obviously he's concentrating on what he's got to do, but Sparta had around 10,000 kids in. There was supposed to be a ban for previous misdemeanours and racism for Sparta Prague, but the 10,000 kids were in. There was a situation where Glenn Kamara was booed by a section of them. We can't quantify how many, but booed when he was touching the ball. This is what Steven Gerrard said with regards to the punishment for racism regarding clubs in European football. I've been told that Rangers are going to take it up with UEFA. I think those wheels are already in motion. There are hundreds of thousands and maybe more people frustrated because these things keep raising their head far too often. I said last night there needs to be more done. It's the only way it's going to be eradicated because the punishments are nowhere near severe enough. Now that sparked a reply from Sparta Prague, and quite a lengthy one at that, from Sparta Prague. And they say it's absolutely unbelievable that after a match we have to watch innocent children being attacked and face unfounded accusations of racism. Insulting children on the internet and in the media is unacceptable, desperate and ridiculous. Stop attacking our children. Our club will defend our children, our future and our pride. Slandering children on the internet is extremely cowardly. We are seeing unprecedented xenophobic statements against the Czech Republic and its children. You are describing the behaviour of children incorrectly, arrogating to yourself the right to judge the expression of emotions of 6-year-old children who have no idea what racism is. It's an impertinence. Sadly, we have to read the desperate attacks of lawyer Amar Anwar, who goes beyond what a lawyer should be allowed to do. In the Czech environment, his conduct would have been dealt with by the Bar Association by now. His activism and online bullying should be dealt with by the relevant institution in Scotland. Inciting xenophobic tendencies and verbal attacks on defenceless children are beyond the pale of morality. We ask the representatives of Rangers to do their part to stop the xenophobic atmosphere directed towards our children, our beautiful country and its inhabitants. Well, listen, strong words indeed. The one thing I would say in context of this is there may well be an investigation. This is just my take on it, Ruffy. It is very difficult to get a decision or even a condemnation or even a fine on kids booing a player. It's very difficult to prove intent of racist abuse from that. I think it's a very sensitive subject. I said to Charlie before we come on, I feel tremendously sorry for Glenn Kamara and what he's been subjected to and been the focus of attention when the boy just wants to play football. But I think with this situation, it's going to be very difficult to look for some kind of fine, penalty on the basis of people booing. Because if that's the case, who's to say that if the Aberdeen fans boo Kyogo Furuhashi this weekend, they're not guilty of racism?
Yeah, and the Celtic fans were booing Frimpong. The same, you know, how they determine what that booing is, and that's the problem. And I don't think we want to get involved with the children thing, you know, I think they're just throwing that in there. But the bottom line is they've got a track record of racism. They've got a track record because they should have been.
But
I'm not talking about that statement. All I'm talking about, they have a track record. That's why there was children in there, because they pleaded their case and they got away with it.
I think Steven Gerrard said if you are, and I agree with him 100%, if you are banning a club because of their misdemeanour, you don't suddenly bend the rules to allow kids in. It's a ban.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is just my personal opinion, not to do with the children thing. In light of what Kamara went through the last time and what he must have, mental health, all the stuff that he went through with the last one and what was going to happen over there in Prague, I wouldn't have played him.
You would bow to people who
I
actually
would
get their way.
I would
Would
think
you?
I think more about the player than I would about the crowd. I'd be thinking about my player, what he's going to go through for 74 minutes if we didn't know they were going to boo him. If I thought he was going to be put through that kind of thing, I would have pulled him out of the occasion.
I'd expect Stephen to have had a conversation with that.
He did, I think he did.
He would have asked
Yeah.
him before the game, thinking
Yeah.
what he's thinking. But we got to remember, this was Sparta Prague, no Slavia Prague, by the way. This is a different team.
No, exactly.
And everybody, we talk about it there, these kids knew who Glenn Kamara was. He would have been on the front pages of the Prague newspapers. So they know who he was, of going back to the Cadella thing, the incident, and we would have known with that. Like you said, can they prove that the booing was because it was a racist remark, or were they booing him just because of that? But it seemed to be, as the lawyer come out and said, that every time Glenn Kamara touched the ball, it was a louder boo than any other player on the pitch. So we just have to deal with it. And I just like to say what Stephen said is that there shouldn't be anybody in the ground, even if it was 10,000 fans. The ban was the ban. It was a behind closed doors game, and they bent the rules. So UEFA then have to take this back up and say, well, we were wrong, and we something has to come out, and I don't know, maybe they punish, well, how can they punish themselves?
Yeah.
It's get back to what Peter's saying, how do you prove it? I mean, even with the Glenn Kamara one, that was difficult to prove as well, although we all agree that the guy did say
we're only going with what the
but you
lawyer
still
said this
have to
morning,
prove-
is
you have
that
to prove it.
the booing was louder
No, we
for
don't
Glenn
know.
Kamara than any other black player. So that's the thing that you got to go with there from his lawyer. So
Yeah, but again, I mean, I tread carefully on this
Yeah,
situation.
no.
And the reason why I tread carefully is we don't all agree on what was said to Glenn Kamara. We don't know.
No.
We get it second hand. What UEFA have to do is, once they collate all the evidence and get what they think is a surefire case, then they make a call. This is why in their country and all across Europe, you have to be very careful until you absolutely know the facts. But as an observation, Tam, I think it's very difficult. It'll be very difficult for UEFA. And I for one, I'm glad Glenn Kamara played.
yeah,
Because I think Glenn Kamara should make a stand like all black players, anyone from any of the ethnic communities, anyone of a religious belief who's playing, who's subjected to abuse. Do not back down, because the minute you let them dictate, they think they're getting away with it. They think their attitude, the way they conduct themselves, if they think they can have an impact on you, they win. So well done, Glenn Kamara. But I think it's a very difficult situation to then suddenly get to a committee at UEFA and say, well, they booed him more than they probably booed every other player. But that's racism. It's very difficult to prove that.
No, it's very difficult. There's, I don't know, many fans were in there, 8,000, 10,000 kids last night. It's hard to prove, but you're right, you can't cow down to these people, because, as you say, what's to stop the next star player, black player, fans, giving abuse, hoping that the manager pulls him out of the team and doesn't play?
Yeah.
So that's another angle, you know. So I think he was well within his rights to play. Unfortunately, he was subjected to probably racist abuse, and I just think it's very sad that the kids are sitting there with their parents. That's probably the most sad thing for me, that maybe their parents are encouraging them to boo him. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, you could be a product of your parents.
Yeah.
Yes, I accept that. Kids also who might not be 6, who might be 10, who may well, they might be well aware of the Kajela incident. Of the 10,000, there could be more than a few who are football fans who know what the situation was. But there's also the narrative from the country as well, that would all have been in the mix. But again, regardless of what has gone before, a misdemeanour before, any charges that have been labelled at them before, that does not come into the equation. UEFA will only deal with the incident, and then they'll look at it and say, okay, what's the evidence? Now, there could be, if there was some of those kids who were guilty of, anything you could say was racist, I mean, black players have been subjected to monkey chants before. If you had CCTV that proved that, bang, you've got a case.
UEFA made a mess of it, haven't they? They've made a mess of it.
Absolutely.
But they won't take. There'll be no punishment. They obviously can't punish themselves. But they've made a mess of it and allowing people in the ground.
Yeah, it's a hard call, by the way. But I commend Glenn Kamara. I don't think it was a good idea for his lawyer to come out so quickly on this until everybody knows the evidence and all the facts. I think I think it's a dangerous situation where we get a knee-jerk reaction to things. If you get the whole picture and then somebody says this is what happened, then we can move forward. But well done to Glenn Kamara for having the strength of character to actually play the game and not let certain factions within society win at the end of the day, certainly for some of their behaviour, which is reprehensible. Anyway, that's Rangers, didn't get the points. Need the big wins, as Charlie said. What about Celtic? Well, Ruffy, I was there last night watching the game. Bayer Leverkusen 4. I mean, it looks like an absolute humping, but I'll be honest with you. Tom's waiting to see what I'm going to say here, but I have to say two things. Celtic had chances, couldn't take them. Ange Postecoglou wants them to play a certain way. He doesn't have the players, in my view, to play that way, and there are 2 or 3 players in this side that, I've said it week in, week out, they're just not up to it and not up to this game plan that he wants to play. And the only thing I'd counter it for, to get your opinion, is I am not condemning the man. I think he needs time to put that side together. There certainly should be no knee-jerk reaction. Let him get on with it. He's going to take more than a few hits in the next few weeks.
I don't think he's got the players, Peter, even the players that aren't playing, to play that system. I don't think they're good enough. I don't think the quality's there to play that style of football. And I've said it before, it's great to see that style of football if you're hitting the back of the net. If you're playing that style of football, as I said, with Man City, and Man City are scoring 3, but scoring 6, but letting in 3, fans will go away happy. Yeah. It's okay saying, we're playing well and we created chances, but it's still 4-0. And the goals down the flanks were just, it was so alarming. You wouldn't like to see it in the Premier League, losing goals like that. Okay, they're quality players you're playing against, but I just don't think he's got the quality in the whole squad to go into European football and play that style of football. He might get away with it in the Premiership. Yeah,
well, Charlie, the way I summed it up last night, it is no embarrassment to lose to a top quality Bundesliga side. I mean, they pressed really well. The boy Paulinho, for me, was the absolute orchestrator of everything. I mean, he was superb. He was at the heart of all the damage that was inflicted on them. But Celtic again shot themselves in the foot. David Turnbull is off it for me at the moment. How he didn't clear that ball escapes me. They get an easy goal. Ralston gives away possession in the middle of the park. These teams, as you know, you've played in the Premier League in England. You give the ball away in the Premier League in England, bang, it's usually in the back of the net.
Yeah, and that's what happened last night. But I just don't see it. I don't see what's the way Celtic play. It's all right playing against Dundee and your Motherwells and that at home, but to go and play at that level against the Bayer Leverkusen and get done. Ange looked frustrated last night. That's the first time I've actually seen him after a game. Like, he was a bit downbeat from what he'd normally be saying, and it's probably going to make a headline, but the leaders are like you say, who's grabbing Turnbull to say, boot it and Rosette? Who do you think you are, trying tricks in the box and all that, slipping over goal? I don't see a Scott Brown in there, and people say, I heard Paul Lambert talking about it. People say, that's not the game. It is the game. That's still going to be there in the next 15, 20 years. You need that type of leader. You need that aggression in the dressing room. And it's not all right. It's not acceptable, because if you want to go to the top level, you've got to cut out the mistakes. And things like that Turnbull done last night, it is not what you need to do if you want to go to the top.
Yeah, and I have to say, Tom, in the back line, you can sense it in the stadium. From the press box, every time Starfelt gets the ball, it's almost as if you can hear the place go, because the two of them are playing along the back. He doesn't know who's showing. The only one who really shows is McGregor. McGregor is head and shoulders above everything else in the middle of the park. And he's the only one that shows. And they don't have the creativity, other than McGregor, to try and pierce the good defences. They're still lacking that number 10. Rogic doesn't do it for me. He gives the ball away. McCarthy's off it at the moment. Turnbull's gone backwards. And I look at him saying to myself, McGregor is the only man in the middle of the park. Kyogo's runs are sensational. Should have scored 2 last night. Jota, I think it's Jota and Abada, pass marks.
I like Abada.
But there are holes in this side. And I'm not going to blame the manager. I think that man deserves time to do what he wants to do. He's just suffering from the ineptitude of that board.
Yeah, listen, I think nothing wrong with the front three. Kyogo, Abada and Jota. I think the 3 of them are good enough. I think they start the press, they've got energy, they've got pace. But I think when you drop into the midfield, Turnbull and Rogic shouldn't be playing the same team. Should not be playing the same team, particularly against Bayer Leverkusen. Sorrell's not good enough, so he doesn't trust him, so he can't play him. He's struggling. McCarthy's, as you said, looks miles off it.
Yeah.
He's not getting anybody else, so I think he's got McGregor in there in the front three. I don't think any of the back four are good enough.
So you're thinking in a European
I think
game,
he's got to go with six, seven players.
You think maybe in a European game they have to go with McGregor and a Beaton just beside him?
Yep.
And you know, because especially for me anyway, because Celtic are open to that counter-attack, because the full-backs come in the pitch, I think you need that little box in there, two holding midfielders, because they get dunned in the side so much that it causes them problems. But so many straight passes from a centre-back into your wing-backs or your full-backs, Bayer Leverkusen just nicked it off them and all of a sudden just turned it down the side. It's unbelievable.
The Starfelt didn't know where to go, Charlie. I mean, he actually was, it was actually the point where you're thinking to yourself, 1, 2, I could count to 2, and I knew he was going to be closed down. And eventually he twigged and he thought to himself, the only way I'm going to get an option here other than McGregor, and they were wise to it, he actually moved forward with the ball himself to give himself an option of a 2-on-1 elsewhere.
But I don't think there's enough movement off the ball for him.
No, there isn't. It's only McGregor.
That's the problem. It's only McGregor. So that's the thing. And the amount of times when he does go, it's always onto his left side where he's not very comfortable, and it's a straight pass into, you know, for instance, a Ralston or Taylor if he played, and then they're just closed in so quickly, and then they play that ball in the channel and they get done for it. So he's got a lot to work on, and I just felt that Ange was a bit downbeat last night after that performance, and obviously losing late goals is something he doesn't like.
I actually think, Peter, that for the Celtic fans right now, when Celtic are attacking, they're off the edge of the couch. And when they lose the ball, they're behind the couch.
Well, no,
I can't sum it up any more than that.
No.
When they lose the ball, it's one of them. What's going to happen here? We could lose a goal immediately because we've got 5, 6 players that are all committed up the park. And good teams are going to pick them off every time.
It's a great point you make, Tam, because Ralston gives the ball away in the middle of the park, Ruffy. He's only got 2 defenders behind him. And at that point you're thinking, and the boy Paulinho picks the ball up, he doesn't even need to lift his head. He knows Wirtz is in the box, and he picks him out with a pass. He's only got 2 defenders to take out, and before you know it, it's 2-0.
But you probably get away with that in the Premiership against
absolutely.
certain clubs.
Yeah.
You know, they will get away with it, you know, but they're not at this level with these kind of players you're playing against. There's no chance.
They were lucky against Alkmaar.
Absolutely no chance.
But Rangers were the same last night, where the boy wins the ball in the middle of the park. Tavernier's so high, Barisic is so high as well, and it allows, you know, it's Balogun and Bassey. The ball down the side of Balogun knows, and the boy's in, to nearly scores a goal, you know. So it's how open that we are in European games for these the Rangers and Celtic. At home, you expect them to have a little bit more of the ball, but when you go to that top level of even Bayer Leverkusen, you know, who are sitting second in the Bundesliga, they'll cut you open, and they did.
Well, we weren't surprised. We weren't surprised because we actually, the two nights before it, we suggested, I thought they were going to get hammered. I thought they would lose about 3-1. You said 4-1. And it transpired because we were well aware that they've got quality players all around. I mean, the boy Bakker on the left-hand side, top drawer, great. I mean, we weren't even talking about Patrick Schick because the Wirtz is only 18. He's broken so many records in Germany for getting into the national side. Paulinho was he was bossing it. And Jeremy Frimpong does what Jeremy Frimpong does down that right-hand side. But listen, fair play to Ange Postecoglou. When he came into the press tent and we were sitting listening to him, he wasn't making excuses for it. He is not happy that they lost 4-0.
You know, when you lose 4-0, it's not enough. It's disappointing, and it shouldn't be. You know, that scoreline shouldn't have reflected that game. So I don't want to let the guys off the hook or myself off the hook because of, you know, they're obviously a good side. If you lose 2-0, but we know we've created a lot of chances, but we fell away at the end through lack of discipline, and to me that's unacceptable.
Well, to be fair to him, he wasn't making excuses there. The only thing I would say, Charlie, and this is the point of the Betis game and this game as well. He wants to play a certain way. He was adamant last night he's not changing. He was going to go for it. He's going to continue to play that way. But I think there's a few right uppercuts coming from other teams if he continues, because I always believe a manager who has got a squad that can't do what you're asking it to do, you then you then have to go in against opposition and say, okay, we need to change to work out a way to beat a better opposition. And the Martin O'Neills and the Gordon Strackens of the world, not to a lesser extent Brendan Rodgers, because I thought he got it wrong as well in Europe, but you need to work out a way to beat somebody if you're punching above your weight.
But everybody does. The big ones do. Guardiola even does it. He'll do it the same at the weekend against Liverpool. And, you know, he'll change his tactics a little bit because Liverpool... You know, Liverpool change when they play against, you know, the top teams as well. Everybody changes. And he's adamant that he's going to stick this way because, he has to go with a plan that he thinks is right. But at the moment, it's not getting results. So they have to try and find the solutions.
See when the Celtic are playing well and they're winning all the time and people say they're playing the Celtic way.
Yeah.
What is the Celtic way?
Attacking wingers.
Well, he's not doing anything different for the Celtic teams of past. They attack in numbers.
No. He
so
is.
What is the way?
No, he is.
You know,
he is doing something different, Ruffy.
What?
He's playing with a side that are not capable of doing what the Celtic way is.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about. Yeah, but he's not coming up with a solution of, right, we're going to play attacking football. Celtic have always played attacking football, but they've had the players to play the attacking football. Yeah, but so he's got to realise he's not got the players to play that style.
No, that's what we're saying. He's going to have to actually change his attitude to it and change the team until such times as he gets a settled team. I mean, Gerrard's title-winning side, you could pick 10 of them. You could rhyme off 10 and then there was one tweak. It was maybe an injury, then somebody come in. You know, Brendan Rodgers' side, you could pick them from 1 to 11. Gordon Strachan's the same. Martin O'Neill's, you know, you could rhyme them off.
Walter was the same. You played with the same team majority of the time and you might get, you know, 2 changes if you're playing Saturday, Wednesday or Tuesday in the Champions League or Europa League. You get 2 changes if you're lucky, you know, and that's what the difference. At the moment, these two, Rangers have got COVID situations, things like that, and Celtic have got so many injuries that they cannot get a settled team. And it's pain at the moment because they've not getting the best players on the pitch.
Ferencváros coming up for Celtic. Here's how the group table looks for Celtic. If we think Rangers have got a big few games coming up, Celtic at the bottom, Tam, I don't know about you, I can't see them get out of that group.
No, I don't think they're good enough to take 6 points on Ferencváros. I think they lost narrowly to Betis last night. So I think Bayer Leverkusen and Betis will scoosh it, and then Ferencváros, Celtic, you need to try and take 4 points out of 6 against them to try and get through. But just the way Celtic play in Europe at the minute, I just can't see them beating anybody with any quality.
Yeah, the other problem as well, Ruffy, and remember a couple of years ago, I wasn't a big fan of the Europa League to start with because I thought Rangers and Celtic were Champions League teams. They're no longer Champions League teams, so I'm now looking at Europa League, and it goes back to what maybe Paul Lambert was alluding to last night, which is quite simply, once you start dropping your expectations of where the teams are, and there's a big problem, not only for Scotland because we're looking into the millionaires of England, but there's a big problem of getting players, getting half-decent players. Steven Gerrard mentioned spending money. You have to spend money to survive even as a 4th or a 3rd pot team in the Champions League. Rangers and Celtic are just mediocre Europa League teams now. What happens next year? Do we get to the point where we're eventually saying, it's really good, they're doing well in the Conference League? I mean, that would just be the absolute pits.
Well, unfortunately, Charlie touched on it. That's what Rangers and Celtic supporters are going to have to put up with because they have got money behind them. I mean, Celtic have got a billionaire backer and Rangers have got money as well, but they're not prepared to spend it and they'll just have to put up with it. That's the way of the world. They think now they're a selling club, both of them, and they're not going to pump money into the game. And they just want to be in it, not to win it.
Yeah, okay, there you are, there's a catchphrase.
In it, no, to win it.
No, just about to say.
We don't put a lottery on.
We've got to get you to do a commercial.
Just take my tenner, but I'm no bored if I win.
Yeah, exactly. Here's how the British clubs fared in the Europa League last night. Slavia Prague defeating Rangers, Legia Warsaw defeating Leicester City, Celtic losing heavily to Leverkusen, and West Ham 2-0 against Rapid Vienna. Rapid Vienna. Every time I hear that name, Ruffy, it just fills me full of dread.
Games,
that was the replay at Old Trafford, the bottle that never hit the player. I think it was 1985, if my memory serves me correct. But nevertheless, West Ham managed to see them off. But Rapid fans tried to storm the home fans section after Declan Rice scored. Bottles and objects were thrown between both sets of fans. I don't think David Moyes was too happy.
I don't know who started, I don't know how it really all started, but what we don't want is that reputation because we want to be a club who's competing, challenging, and we want to be invited into these competitions and be seen as a club which can travel to Europe, and everybody welcomes us because we have great supporters.
He's done a great job there, hasn't he?
He is. He just keeps getting wins that, you know, when you've got somebody like Antonio up there scoring the goals, and for me, I think he's the best English midfielder at the moment in Declan Rice. I think he's got everything. You know, he just needs to probably add a little bit of goals to his game, which he started to do. And I think he's top drawer. But you know, David's gone back in there, and last season was unbelievable, and they just carried it on this year as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's European football. What about the weekend? Some tasty games. Can't wait to talk to these guys about the games that are on offer. Rangers are against Hibs in a moment. The reason why I'm going to Aberdeen Celtic first is because, you know, it's raining here. But up in Aberdeen, it looks as if the sun is shining. Gabriel Antoniazzi is already up there live for us outside Pittodrie. The man is up there. He's last in our predictor, but he's still putting his face on the telly for us. Gabriel, what a howitzer of a match we've got to look forward to on Sunday.
Yeah, well, it's a clash between two mid-table teams. It's not where either side wants to be. That's because both teams are in really poor form, as we know. Celtic hammered last night by Bayer Leverkusen. They lost 5 of their last 8 games. And if you look at their away fixtures, they'll be here on Sunday, of course. They've lost 6 out of 7 this season, and they've not won away from home in the league since Valentine's Day. So it's not very good for Celtic fans. If you're an Aberdeen fan, you'll be thinking, great time to play the Hoops. And if you're a Hibs fan, you'll be thinking, great time to play the Dons. That's because Aberdeen haven't won in 8 matches either. It's their worst run of form in about a decade. They're in 7th place, really struggling, and Stephen Glass is starting to feel the heat. So you would say this is the kind of match where something's got to give. I've gone for a Celtic victory, but knowing that, it'll probably be a draw.
Well, just saying, Gabriel, the other thing that's really worrying from our point of view, Ruffy, you know, Aberdeen have just put out a tweet saying all fans will be admitted to Pittodrie for the Celtic match, regardless of whether they have proof of the vaccine or not. Clearly, that's, I think, because the app is proving not to be as 100% working as we thought it was going to be, Gabriel.
No, the official date is the 18th of October. That's when you will have to have these vaccination passports or your QR codes. You've got a 2-week grace period. And now that Aberdeen have tried really hard, they've said in their statement that they're going to try their best to get everyone in, but it's just logistically not possible. I feel that the government haven't been clear enough on this, especially for young people my age. We haven't even been given this is the app to download. It's so simple, it should be easy, but it's not been the case. So Aberdeen, and I think a few other clubs may follow suit, will not be doing spot checks this weekend and perhaps won't be enforcing them until October the 18th.
Yeah, what about that line, Robbie? Especially for young people my age. That's a real kick in the teeth, isn't it? Eh?
Yeah, gonna go off a
well, but the worrying thing is, for young people his age, there are only certain rules I've given him that he didn't pay attention to. The last time he was in Aberdeen, don't go to the Hawthorn bar. Don't hang about with any of your family who have COVID. I mean, the rules are fairly straightforward. And don't go to pubs with your mates, Tam. It's as simple as that.
Are you going out tonight, Gabs? Up in Aberdeen?
No, got to be sensible, Tam. I think my strike rate in Aberdeen, 2 of the last 3 times I've been up.
Is he tying this in family business and work as well at the same time? Is that why he's going up early?
No, he's obviously found a new girlfriend from the Aberdeen area.
On his app and his phone.
Absolutely.
If any young ladies are watching from Aberdeen, Gabs is around.
Gabs is spoken for now, which is great news. But nevertheless, he's up there to do a job for us. Hey, listen, Ange Postecoglou is talking about this match. He hopes that the pain of that defeat to Leverkusen, you know, hurts, and they want to try and bounce back quickly.
Disappointed our fans tonight, and you got to take that anger and that disappointment and use it in a positive way, and that is in a tough game away from home is, you know, show that, you know, we've learned our, you know, we've learned the repercussions and the consequences of a night like tonight, and we don't want to repeat it.
Yeah, Gabriel, I've got to ask you about the match-up in the middle of the park. I mean, it'll be great for Callum McGregor and Scott Brown to share a laugh in the tunnel, and then it's onto the field of play and a big battle ahead. What kind of reception do you think Scott Brown's going to get? I certainly was disappointed by a small section of Celtic fans who booed Jeremy Frimpong, which was poor to say the least, but then again, there are some people who just don't appreciate footballers.
No, I think Scott Brown will get a good reception because it's travelling fans coming up, and they're usually the more hardcore, the more loyal, as they would say. I think he'll get a good reception. He's one of Celtic's great modern captains, and he didn't really get to say farewell. Stephen Glass said that it's almost going to be a farewell game for him because he didn't get that at Celtic Park. So it's going to be a really interesting game, and that matchup, as you say, the first tackle between Callum McGregor and Scott Brown, it's just going to be box office. But talking about the matchups and what you were saying about Celtic a few minutes ago, Aberdeen are going to really have to try and exploit the wide areas. You've got Ryan Hedges back. He is so important for them, and overlapping Calvin Ramsey. Can they overload those fullback areas? Because we know that Celtic like to push high and push inside. Those will be the areas that Aberdeen will try and get in. But Celtic, well, definitely, they'll dominate the possession. Can they score? Can Kyogo Furuhashi get his shooting boots back? He could have had 2 or 3 last night. All Hoops fans will be hoping so.
Yeah, and with regards to Brown, Aberdeen manager Stephen Glass says he'll only have one thing in his mind, and that's winning it for the Dons.
Yeah, I think everybody knew this was coming when Scott agreed to come here. He's almost dealt with the touch of it already when he played for Celtic against us last year, and we knew he was coming. So I think he's the type of character, it won't affect him. I think he wants to win football matches. I think it'll actually be a little bit for the Celtic fans to say almost a little hello and goodbye to him, I suppose, because they never had that opportunity last year. But the overriding thing for us is that Scott's determined to win a game on Sunday. And I don't think that ever changes. And that's why he is what he is.
Tam, I think the Celtic fans will give him a really warm reception, and then I think they will cheer as somebody in that midfield smashes him.
Yeah, definitely. I think Scott Brown's probably aware of that. I think, listen, as Gab said there, he's a modern day great for Celtic captain. You know, I think he'll get a fantastic reception. But once the game starts, Scott Brown goes in and clatters a Celtic player, then they'll be screaming for his blood. You know, that's just the way fans are. So I'm looking forward to the game. I think it'll be a very good game. Both teams need a victory for different reasons, and both teams need to try and consolidate their top 6 place. Yeah.
How do you see this one going, Charlie? Do you think, if Scott Brown goes into a challenge and he wins the ball, do you think he's going to get up and go?
Absolutely. He'll be delighted. And he'll pick the weakest one he knows that he can get away with.
Yeah.
And that's what he'll do. He'll pick somebody that he thinks. It's not about going and laying a marker on it. Scott Brown will just go and try and dictate the game the way he can. Terrific player. I think he's played well for Aberdeen this year. And he'll want to do his talking on the pitch. It's not about going and smashing people because, you know, he'll have earned the respect of the Celtic players, but he'll still be thinking if I was him, I'd still be thinking, right, I need to prove that I'm better than what they've got, and the club were wrong to let me go. And, you know, listen, he'll get a great reception because I think that Scott Brown's up there with Billy McNeil as one of the greatest Celtic ever captains. His record speaks for itself, and he'll want to win, and that's what you do as a player. You want to, you know, you slightly want to just get the better of your old club because it means so much as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Gams, just before we let you go, you're bottom of the predictor table. You're under a fair bit of pressure, so it's a big call for you to give us your prediction for Aberdeen against Celtic. Give us your exact score on this one.
Yeah, I'm going for 2-1 Celtic, but as I said, I'm already going back in it. I think it might end up in a draw, but 2-1 the Hoops. As I said, I'm up here for the weekend, so I'm going to pop in, past my mum and dad, and ask for a couple of £100 to put into the kitty for the end of season. Dukes. It's going to be on my head.
What a for Aberdeen. 2-1 to Celtic. Get the bookies and beat Aberdeen.
Exactly. And the other thing about it is, Ruffy, the loser has to take out all of the team for a meal. And I don't know about you, but are there really good restaurants in Aberdeen that we're all going up? I've got a feeling we're all going to be round his mum and dad's table as we get tatties and mince in Aberdeen. Is that fair, Gabs?
Yeah, I'll tell her to start preparing now.
Brilliant stuff. Gabriel Antoniazzi, who's going to be up there with us, and he'll be talking to Andrew Shiney after the match, and you can get all the latest reaction on our Facebook page, PLZ Soccer, as well. Great stuff from Gabs up there in the Granite City. Rangers against Hibs. If Aberdeen Celtic's tasty, Rangers against Hibs, magnificent. You guys have got to try and prove to everybody that you're the real deal.
This is the game. This is the marker. You got to go and set down. You could get into the international break top of the league, and it's a long time since Hibs were top of the league in October. So it's a huge game. Rangers not playing well at the minute. I think they're there for the taking. But on the other hand, I don't think Hibs have been playing that well. So it'll be who turns up on the day and plays well. I think Hibs are capable And I seen Jack Ross speaking about he doesn't want plaudits this time. You know, went to Ibrox last year, played really well, lost 1-0. You'd rather go there and play poorly and get a result, win a game. So, massive game. Looking forward to going there with my compatriot. I think we'll be only 2 Hibs supporters in Ibrox, so that'll be interesting. And listen, I hope it'll be a great game and hopefully Hibs can win.
Yeah. Do you think they have the mentality?
Yeah, I didn't, but I seen the last game against St Johnstone where it was 0 each. And those are the games last season where Hibs had lost 1-0. They'd made a mistake at the back, they got the penalty, but they've seen the game out very well. There's a couple of games this season where they've just seen the game, they don't played well, but they've won. This is the biggest test of the season for Hibs so far. Going to Hearts at Tynecastle, getting a draw was a decent result, but going to Ibrox and winning would get Hibs fans dreaming of a First League title and donkeys.
Hold on. Hold on a minute. You nearly had me.
That Panadol's done it for his teeth, man. It's causing him problems on a Friday.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Do you remember the time we were in the studio and Macca had sore ankles and he took 4 tramadol and he started losing the plot. The big man is mental. I was talking about winning the game, not winning the league, Ruffy.
Yeah, I'm getting carried away.
If Hibs win, the fans will be dreaming, wouldn't they? There's nothing wrong with dreaming, aiming high.
Yeah. I was looking at the 2 boys. They've changed their attitude to you right away.
Just waiting to get knocked out in the dentist.
I'm in severe pain here.
Have they got the mentality? Is this the perfect time to face Rangers?
No, because they're the champions, they're wounded animals, and it's probably the worst time to play them because I think Rangers will win this comfortable. I still think they're good enough to beat Hibs at home. I know Hibs are going well, but the quality that Rangers have got will be enough to win this game. I can't see anybody beating Rangers at Ibrox in the league. It's a difficult place to go. They are the champions, they've got the best players, and I could see Rangers. Listen, Hibs have started the season well, but this is a different task for this Hibs team.
What do you see score?
I'm going to go 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0. I've got Rangers to win 2-1, Ruffy.
Yeah, I've got Rangers to win 2-1 as well. I think Hibs' only hope is we always see some kind of reaction when Celtic and Rangers come back. And,
you don't get many of them at Ibrox.
You always see some kind of reaction when they come back for European games, you know, and it's just there for. But for me, it's all about Hanlon and Porteous. They're the two. We all talk about Boyle and we talk about the strikers. That if they two play at the level they can, I think it'll make it difficult for Rangers. And they have got people up front, but I still think, as Charlie said, they've got far better players than Hibs.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great noise. The Porteous, Hanlon and against Morelos. It's the whole thing that everybody will be focusing on.
What have you got? Prediction?
I've went for 1 each. I think Hibs can go.
Can he win the league going by getting 1 point?
I think Hibs can go and get a result. I don't want to sit in the fence. I think Hibs could possibly win the game, but I'm going to go for 1 each.
You're going to go for 1 each?
Because there's points at stake.
So does that put you top of the league?
I don't.
No, it doesn't.
No,
There's still a point.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, talking about you saying you would probably only one of 2 Hibs fans in the ground, getting away fans to games is absolutely of paramount importance, but yet it is one of a number of situations we find ourselves in with Scottish football that hasn't yet happened. Graham Alexander, the Motherwell manager, says it's absolutely imperative that away fans are allowed into grounds.
I don't think there's a grey area on it. I think it's essential. I think it's a massive part of British football. I think a lot of other countries don't really have big away followings, but I think it's part of the fabric of British football. That it's a badge of honour for the supporters to go to grounds and always follow the team, and not always to the glamorous places. I remember us playing for Martin, and Motherwell supporters being up the trees behind the stand. But it's a badge of honour that they'll talk about for years that they were there in that day.
Okay, Ruffy, there was a zone last night good enough for the Bayer Leverkusen fans, so there's certainly got to be a zone good enough to allow fans in, Hibs fans, to go and see Hibs against Rangers. They're certainly good enough if Aberdeen were playing at Celtic Park for fans to get in. Yet again, we have a stupid tit for tat with these 2 big clubs.
I mean, how often have we got to talk about it before somebody does something about it? The 2 of them have to be towed into line. I don't know how you would do that. You
change the voting structure. That's what you do.
Yeah, probably.
Change everything.
Yeah, but it can't go on forever. So somebody's going to have to do so. I wouldn't like to think we're sitting here in 5-6 years and we're still talking about it. Somebody has to do something about it sooner rather than later.
But do you think this sort of, we keep calling it, this group of American owners that are trying to do something different, is that them trying to say, well, hold on a minute, we want to try and get more power from the old firm clubs? Or
well, they need to do that. They need to do it. The only way our country will come out of the dark ages is to take away the power from the big two clubs. It's the only way we can move forward. The big two clubs can still have a lot of money. They can still get a bigger slice of the pie on certain issues. You know, if they've got the bigger gates, they got their way with that. You know, they get the bigger travelling support. They get the bigger money when they finish higher in the league. But to attract big sponsors, to get a fair representation for everybody as a collective, we need a group of people who take over the running of the Premiership and look at it as a collective. How do we get bigger sponsorship deals in so that there's a greater distribution of the money? How do we get a bigger deal in the television so that there's a greater distribution, so that other clubs like a Motherwell, a Hearts, a Hibs can start to buy better players? And you know, and Rangers and Celtic will still get the bigger slice of the pie because they have the bigger support. But right now, everything is slowed down. He's saying, it, you know, hopefully it'll change in 5 years. Are you kidding me? They won't allow it to change.
Surely Celtic Rangers, like you say, they come to Dens last week. They enjoy coming there with away support, you know. So what's the difference between allowing, because they only allow 700-800 to go in.
So Charlie, they're arguing with each other at the moment to allow 700 fans into a Rangers Celtic game, and that you know, phone calls, having little, you know, having a situation where they're going, oh, well, if you can't guarantee that you're not getting in, you're not getting in here. Oh well, you're not getting in there. That's what they do. This is it's petty. It is so petty. They are absolutely slowing our game down, and you need to keep hammering them until somewhere along the line, you know, people don't sell their souls and allow a 11-1 voting structure to continue. We need someone from somewhere to come out as a visionary and take this country forward and try and get more money into the game.
I thought you were
and it's not with those two.
I thought you were going to say, let's have a vote to change the vote.
Well,
let's see if Deloitte's earning their money in the next couple of months.
Yeah, well, exactly. Here's the better question. Let's see what happens after the recommendations and who scuppers it. Motherwell against Hearts, it's a fantastic game at Tynecastle. Brilliant atmosphere. I think this is a real test for Motherwell to suggest, hey, wait a minute, are we the real deal as well? Are we in the mix here? Are we playing really good football? Do we deserve all the plaudits?
Yep, they're playing well. Obviously, they lost the first game of the season at Hibs. A little bit unfortunate, but they're on a great run at the minute. I think they've won 4 in the spin, so they'll go there with confidence, but I can't see past Hearts in this game. I think Hearts are strong this season. I think they're strong defensively. Big Tynecastle crowd behind them. You know, it's a very intimidating place to play when Hearts are going well.
Strong enough to win the league?
No, they'll probably just finish just behind Hibs.
Edinburgh won too.
And Edinburgh won. Wow, how good would that be? Imagine Hibs get £30 million in the Champions League. It'd be great to see what they've done with the money.
What would they spend?
I could run with pocket it and buy USA done his job. But no, I think 2-0 to Hearts.
Yeah. Ruffy?
Yeah, I think the atmosphere at Tynecastle New is buzzing. So I know Motherwell are on a good run, but some of the games that I think they were fortunate to win the games. So I think Hearts are going to win 2-1.
Charlie?
Yeah, it's a home advantage, so I'd go Hearts.
Yeah, okay, I've gone 2-1 as well, Ruffy, on this one. Livingston against St Mirren. Livingston 10th, just 1 point ahead of the relegation zone. Just one win this season. Are they going to do anything against St Mirren? I
just think the home advantage. You know, they'll get something out of the game. I don't think they'll win it. I think St Mirren, certain players in the St Mirren team are doing well. They got a wee rub of the green last week, so they'll take that on to Livy. I'm sitting in the fence, 1 each. Yeah,
Jim Goodwin thinks that win last week is going to just be the perfect platform to build on.
You know, great faith in the group. I think we've been very unfortunate on occasions this season. You know, but I've spoken long and hard about the reasons and the circumstances sometimes behind those particular games. I just thought on Sunday against Aberdeen, it was a really good team performance, and you know, the guys that came off the bench made a really good impact as well. So all in, it was a really good boost for the whole group.
Charlie, you were just saying that if you weren't a Dundee player and you had to obviously watch Dundee, that would be a game you'd love to get a ticket for.
Sadly, unfortunately not. I just don't. The AstroTurf, I just don't. It's not enjoyable to watch any games on it. But like Ruffy, I think it'll be a draw. That result for St Mirren last week will give them a little bit of confidence, but I think Livingston could beat anybody on the Astro. You know, and I'll go for
a draw. I'm going St Mirren to win 2-1.
Nailed on, 100% draw.
Draw. Okay. What about Dundee United against Ross County? This is a tough one actually to pick on it, Tam. I've looked at it and I've decided to go Dundee United 1, Ross County 1, because I know you don't. I don't know you know why I'm talking to you about it. But Ross County played some good football last week.
Yeah, I think that'll be a decent game. Both teams playing some decent stuff at the minute. Ross County, you were at the game last week against Motherwell. You know, by all accounts, they played well. They're playing some nice stuff. They're now going into games where they can win. You know, they've had a hard run of games. They've played, you know, the top 6 or 7 sides. Now they're going into your Motherwells and your Dundees and teams like that who can get a result against. So I'm going to go for 1 each.
Yeah, okay. Ruffy, what are you going for?
Dundee United 2-1.
2-1, okay. No change there.
Draw.
Draw, okay. What about St Johnstone against Dundee, Ruffy? I mean, it's not a proper derby, but nevertheless, St Johnstone starting to show signs, a little spark coming back.
Well, I was actually going to give Charlie a phone because obviously he was at the Dundee St Johnstone game, and I think he said at the time there was chances if you'd taken them.
Yeah, we'd played well
before but they eventually just ground you out and used it. So I think St Johnstone will grind out a 2-1 tomorrow.
2-1 tomorrow, okay. What's the mood like in the camp with your boys?
Good. We've been playing well, but you know, I think we're 6 games in now. We've not won a game, so it doesn't matter if you're playing well. We need to start winning games. So it'll be a good way to start tomorrow to get our first win before the international break. Take a bit of confidence going into after the international break. So listen, we're confident we can go there and get a result. And we're in. We keep saying we're playing well. We just got to try and add some goals to that and win the game.
If you're not on the park, who is the voice in the dressing room? The leaders that you think?
There's many.
Yeah.
We've got a few: Ashcroft, McGee, Byrne, big goalkeeper, Paul McGowan. You know, want to drive the team forward, want the best for the football club, which is important. And we've just not had that little bit of luck in front of goal, and hopefully that can change tomorrow. Yeah, Callum Davison is hoping that they need to turn all the confidence that they've been showing in some of the good play into wins.
Then for Rangers, Aberdeen and Aberdeen, I think Rangers game were excellent. Should have got something at the game. It'll be a penalty, a wonder goal. Aberdeen we won, and then Hibs was the penalty. So I think we've been pretty good. I think probably a wee bit more fatigue in the earlier games when we maybe could have picked up more points. But it's just like building points, building confidence. And I think last week, we got through to our major semi-final. Yep, that's St Johnstone against Dundee. What are you going for, Tam? I've got 2-1 St Johnstone.
I think Dundee will finally break their duck and get a goal. But St Johnstone will win 2-1.
I hope that toothache gets sore all weekend.
Exactly. Listen, thank you to the people, countless people who put messages, lots of in support of Glenn Kamara, which is great to see, and lots of people offering their opinion on all sorts of issues, including, of course, the weekend's games, how they think it's going to go. If you want to stay up to date with all the breaking stories, don't forget, if you download the PLZ Soccer app in the Google Play and in the App Store, you'll get all the latest breaking news. And, of course, what you can do is when you hit the menu, there's a little submission there, and lots of people have been able to type in messages which come up live on the show to us. So download the app. Thank you to countless people who've downloaded the app, and you can actually watch the show live on your phone, and you can watch it at your own leisure as well.
Before we go on the end of that game, I think a special mention should go to Liam Craig, who could beat the record appearance at St Johnstone tomorrow if he plays against us. Yeah, Liam is a brilliant ambassador, I think, for football, I think Charlie. So. Yeah, he's a player that obviously I played against this year and last year, and I think he's a great professional for St Johnstone.
How did it not work at Hibs? What happened there? Is it a manager?
Getting relegated.
Yeah, I think it was just.
And to get to that record appearances of above Stephen Hand, I think is an unbelievable achievement.
And as PFA chairman, I think he's managed to carry the torch on from John Rankin, and he speaks really well and helps players out.
Yep, Liam's a great lad. I played with Liam at Falkirk, and off the park he's very quiet. Nothing about him big on the park. He could start a fight in an empty house. I was at Easterwood last week, and he got booked for the penalty incident. And he was going after his head. His face was coloured. He's barn at one point. But Liam's a great guy, and I agree with it. I think for him to beat Big Ando's record at St Johnstone is a fantastic achievement, and he's won trophies up there as well, so no doubt a St Johnstone legend for the years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to finish off, here's the English Premier League fixtures for the weekends. Only one match I'll be watching with great excitement. It's on the Sunday. It's at Anfield. It's Liverpool against Manchester City. It's one of those games where you just settle down, little beer with a lemonade in it, half and half, and enjoy it.
That's a cracker, isn't it? Two top teams going at it, and we'll see what Pep comes up with to stop Liverpool.
Yeah.
What will you be? Will you be drinking? You'll be drinking a shandy. What will you be drinking?
That's a champagne.
Yeah. Where are you?
Where?
Where are you?
Yes.
In your house?
Champagne in the house on a Sunday. You don't, do you?
Yeah, I like a wee
Cooking
brunch
and
on
that.
a Sunday.
So
Yes,
you've changed so much. Champagne. Would you have champagne? Would the wife put champagne out?
If you're lucky to get Prosecco. Champagne special occasions up in Ballarnock.
That's absolutely magnificent. Man U Everton is a good one on the Saturday. Chelsea Southampton, Wolves Newcastle, Burnley Norwich, Leeds Watford and Brighton Arsenal. In fact, apart from Man U Everton, Saturday is instantly forgettable. Tottenham Villa on the Sunday, West Ham Brentford, Crystal Palace Leicester and Liverpool against Manchester City. Fair to say, after the international break, Charlie Adam back, Dundee strutting your stuff?
I'm hoping so.
Fingers crossed, Charlie, for that, definitely. Listen, enjoy your football at the weekend. Download the app. If you get a chance, subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. The family who enjoy their football are growing ever larger on YouTube now. We're exclusively on Monday to Friday at 4 o'clock. If you're an expat across the globe, thank you to the countless people from New Zealand, Australia, America, everybody from all corners of the globe actually just joining us and watching the programme at their particular time to enjoy it as well on YouTube.
We're still waiting on the invite for once the COVID and that settles down, for the PLZ travelling roadshow all over the world with some of the viewers.
Yeah, I think we've got to organise that, Ruffy. That would be absolutely sensational to do a live
Thailand
somewhere.
there as well.
Yeah, we've had a few
If you could
invites.
pick one country, Ruffy, before we go, where you would love to do a live show, and remember, we've got the technology. Sweden. Right, okay. Charlie?
I'm in Dubai, yeah. I think I love it.
Yeah?
It's a great country.
Dubai, sweltering in Dubai. Ruffy,
These two don't even go to sunbed, do they? They just lie beside the pool, huh?
What are you laughing at?
I thought you said you wanted to see a live show.
Thailand for me.
On that note, ting tong. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching the programme. Goodbye.